So we are 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away from the 2024 local elections. But it hardly feels like it. hardly feels like it. Every party has had their, local election campaign launch. It's in quote full swing. There isn't a local election going on in my area, so I have none of the fun. None of the fun this time, however. But we should, of course, note that the next big elections, you've obviously got the Welsh Senedd and the Scottish Parliament next year. Then after that, you are really going to get the next big local election, which is really the big one in 2028. That will no doubt, of course, inform potential voting decisions, patterns, etc., going in to what will probably be next year, the 2029 general election. So, all the fun. However, we should also, as we've said before, have a look at what's been going on in, local by-elections. Who's been winning? Who's been losing? Ultimately, I'll tell you who the winners have been. It's been the Lib Dems. Not by much, though. Labour is quite behind them. Not massively behind them, but, small on that one. Like I say, we've had, 200 plus by-elections since then. Reform have won, 14 since then. Like I say, for a party that's meant to be so popular, you'd think they'd be winning more of these by-elections. But even then, that comes with a big caveat. So we'll get into that, of course, in a moment as well. But before we go talking about looking at local elections, what will happen, predictions, etc., we've got to have a look at what happened last time back in 2021, last time these local elections were held. So before we do go looking at that data, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Of course, there are links to my Patreon page. There's the Buy Me Coffee link. There's the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, there's the Pony Club as well. So thank you very much to everyone who does support the channel that way. So let's crack on and have a look at this. So these were the results for the local elections back in 2021. Of course, as I've said this before, you may remember, this was like the last time the Conservatives won big. The very, very last time. So this was like the vaccine bounce. It was pre-Partygate. We're still riding high from the Boris mania in many ways. So what happened? What was it like? What did these results maybe even predict some stuff, maybe for later on? However, as you can see, when we talk about, the Conservatives are going to have like big losses, this is part of the why. Now, of course, it will be depending on how much of those losses, how big is that loss? Can it be stemmed in some ways? Like I say, we saw in the 2023 by-elections for local elections, we saw that, of course, Conservatives lose dramatically, of course, Partygate, post-Boris, all that stuff. Big change. But remember, this is where we are in that moment in time. This is that 2021. What was going on here? So obviously you had this, councillors. So they won over 2,343 after the total councillors came to over 7,666. That was an increase of 235. They won 63 councils, taking their overall control of councils to 140. That was a gain of 13. So that was the Conservatives. Labour, of course, did not do very well on this. They won 134. So 1,343, so 45, shall we say, which was their total council number to 5,911. But they, of course, that was net negative for them, down by 327. As for councils itself, they did win 44, and that means that their total councils that they controlled were 84 for a net loss of 8. The Lib Dems won 588, taking their total councillors to 2,513. So we say that was a net positive of 8 councillors for them on that. They total councils that they controlled that they won was 7, taking their total overall control at that moment in time to 22. That was a net increase of 1. And remember, this is just a snapshot of what was going on back in 2021. The Greens won 151, taking their total council numbers to 461. That was a net gain of 88. At that time, no overall control of councils. And then the next one, of course, UKIP, they won no seats. That remained with them 8 councillors with a net loss of 408. So 48, because they did not win any seats at all. No overall control. And then this is worth something bringing up. And I think this is something we should actually bring up a bit more. This election in 2021, our recent 2024 election, independents won quite big. Like, independents won quite big. This 2021 election, and of course, the last one. Of course, technically, you have the highest number of independent MPs currently sitting in Parliament. This is, of course, the highest, most. I think this was the biggest one they ever won, where it was like independents won, from what I can remember. I don't know. I'd have to have a quick look at the stuff, but I think this was, I believe, the one. So independents overall won a 308. That total number of independent councillors then rose to 2,203 with a net gain of 44. They obviously don't own any councils, but you see 11 currently really in no overall control. So no overall control, though, of our councils went down that year. It went down 6, meaning that 6 councils went into no overall control. Of course, as I said, things are very different now, but bear in mind, these seats in this election up for grabs in this coming May elections, these are the very same ones. So this is why these results matter. This is why we're not looking at the ones that happened 2 years later. So just so you know, this is the snapshot. This is what things looked like back in 2021. I know, but you can see here why they are predicting the Conservatives are going to do so badly at this. Remember, this was just after the vaccine bounce. Still all that Boris mania. I know, seems a long time ago, but hey, that was the whole thing now. Pre-Partygate, that's just where we were at that moment in time. So that's where things, of course, stood there. And of course, it is worth pointing out, potentially, maybe at these upcoming elections, maybe we do see a big increase in independence. I would not be surprised if you did see a big win in independence this time around. And it's, who are they going to profit off? Are they going to take seats off the Conservatives? Are they going to take seats off Labour? Are they going to take seats off the Lib Dems? Are they going to take seats off the Greens? Are they going to take even seats off Reform? This is one of the things where it's hard to make predictions, especially about independent candidates, because they are a whole, mess of their own. There is no central database where you can have a look, see how well they are doing, where there is sort of parties. It's very, very difficult, shall we say. But I think, given the result, what you saw here in this election, given the result we saw in the 2024 general election, I think you're going to see independents do quite well. We'll see. Like I say, remember here that their net gains here were 44 in terms of councillors. Will they be able to beat that number? Will they lose seats? Who knows? we'll have to see. But of course, I think, as I've said before, I think the big winners of this upcoming local elections, ultimately, I think are going to be the Lib Dems. I really do think the Lib Dems potentially are going to win a lot of seats. I think, especially at the Conservatives' expense. And if you can see that, there's about 2,345 seats that are now, I would say, very, very close to probably slipping to the Lib Dems. And if they keep up their strategy of really focusing their campaigns, really trying to sort of win that blue wall, then yes, I think they will do very well. I think they will do very well. I think you will see them not only win a lot of councillors, I think you could see them certainly take a lot control of those councils. So by what numbers, I don't know. It can be very difficult to predict sometimes for local council elections, but I think the Lib Dems probably going to be, I think, maybe the biggest winners out of this. I still think Labour will do all right, but we'll see. And of course, people will want to know what my opinion are on the Greens. Yeah, they were up 88. Yeah, I think they will win some seats, but it's not going to be a mammoth, shall we say, harvest. If they do, then yeah, congratulations. But there will come consequences because of that, as you've seen down in Brighton. But there you go. But yeah, interesting times ahead. But we also must point out, because everyone always panics and worries about reform, let's just go to this, because this was written by the BBC when they were literally on the brink of wipeout, losing all their seats in the local elections. So I want to point out this. So the party's highest watermark was 500 councillors in 2016. Right? 500 councillors in 2016. That was their highest ever watermark. The current standing of Reform UK is like 126, something like that, I think, local councillors. And a great many of those local councillors are not, I want to stress this, have not been put to any type of electoral test. The next time they will be put to electoral test, a great many of them will be in 2028. And remember, UKIP's height is 500. If Reform cannot beat that, if they cannot get past that, then they are still a paper tiger. Until we actually see some serious evidence that, Reform are like gonna do this big electoral fandango, I'm not convinced. Maybe the elections will, when we see the results, oh my God, changes my mind. But until we actually see that elections, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not worried about them, because so far, if you look at these by-elections, as I keep on reminding people, since the general election, we've had over 200 plus by-elections. We're told constantly by Nigel Farage and others, people who are like pro-reform, oh my God, we're so popular. Then why aren't you winning by-elections? You've won 14 since the general election. There have been 200 plus at that moment in time. You ain't wowing the crowd. Now, like I say, that was a BBC article. Remember, the highest point reform that UKIP ever had was 500 councillors back in 2016. If Reform can't beat that, can't better that, then they've got a problem. Oh, yes, they have people in Parliament. But that's probably because certainly the Conservative vote sunk so much. And like I say, if the Lib Dems can get the benefits of that, they are the ones who are going to inherit the opposition mantle. It won't be Reform. But we should also have a look at this, because this is upcoming by-elections. There's currently on the docket 143 different by-elections going to happen. So this week alone, there's April 17th in Horsham, another in Torbridge, April 25th, in Arran, in Fife, in Suffolk, um, West Berkshire. On May the 1st, there's Amber Valley, another one, Amber Valley, another Bassetlaw, Balwillie. A lot of those May the 1st, obviously, local council elections. Hey, good if you can time it right with a local election. But again, by-elections do continue all the time. Another one on 8th of May in Calderdale, Eastleigh, Barnet, and then again, all these others that have yet to, of course, have a name put to them on here. So it will be very, very interesting to see what some of these things, because you can see who controls that council. Independent means no overall in control. Ultimately, I think that's what he means on this. I don't think he has a key. That's annoying. But I think when you, again, Open Council Data UK, does that mean that that's no overall in control? I'm guessing of the council. I think I'm not 100% sure. Then of course, then it shows who's defending. So this one will be very interesting to the fact that this is a Lib Dem controlled council, and the seat you can see as being defended by, of course, the Conservatives. What will happen there? And then I do think this is controlled because you've got Lib Dems, Labour, Greens defending Independent. So interesting to see what will happen. But this is the one and the contest I want to see here. So you've got this one happening here in Balby, again, May the 1st. Conservative-controlled council defending Lib Dem. What could happen there? Will the Lib Dems be able to defend it? It's a May the 1st election. Will they lose overall control of Balby? May very well do. May very well do at that. Again, you've got these two, Green minimum controlled in the Forest of Dean, defending Liberal Democrats, defending here Labour. Again, interesting, but again, these are the ones I want to watch where it's Conservative controlled, but Lib Dem defending. Be interesting to see which those flip. But ultimately, we'll have to see what happens. I think independents in this election could do quite well. I think let's go to the my totals. Here we are. So this is the current breakdown list for parties. So you've got the Labour Party currently has a total of number of councillors 6,331. The Conservatives have 5,139. The Lib Dems have 3,000. Independent 2,021. I would not be surprised if you see independents take a lot of seats this election. Would not surprise me. Greens 810, again for a party that's meant to be, again, the new up and comer, meant to be so popular. That's not actually say playing with the big boys up here. Obviously, Scottish Nationalist Party, when it comes to councillors, they only stand in Scotland, so they are limited where they, what councils they run for. So obviously, they're going to be small. Same for Plaid Cymru as well. Same for Sinn Féin. And then, of course, here you get Reform UK, 125. Remember, UKIP. I want to remind you, 500. They're nowhere near their, quote, not even close to their UKIP glory days yet. And then, of course, you've got all these other independent, parties here. So there's the Ashfield Independents, Scottish Greens, of course, Green Party up in Scotland, again, limited number where they can run. The People's Independent Party, the residents for Ulsterford, Aspire, the Boston Independents, the Farsham Residents, the Carvey Island Independence Party, the Independent Loughton Residents Association, Peterborough First, the Lincolnshire Independents, Lincolnshire First, the Basingstoke and Dean Independents. Again, these are mostly like independents that have come together to work together on councils on here. But yeah, you see all these independent parties that are all just here. You know, Runnymede Independence Group, the Party. I don't know if there's any other weird names. There used to be quite a few odd named parties. The Yorkshire Party, only 3. God, I understand the Yorkshire Party. I know why they run, but it's just like, yeah, your electoral record hasn't been very good consistently for quite a while. But who knows? Maybe, although there are no big ones in Yorkshire this time. Alba Party, just 2 on there. Obviously, that's Alex Salmond's thing. The All In Party with just 1. The National Flood Prevention Party. The Rubbish Party. The Independents at Swansea. Not in Swansea, at Swansea. But yeah, interesting number, obviously. And it's just see what happens now, really. But yeah, we will see. We will see what happens. May elections 2023, 2022. Again, Conservatives, you can see the downfall starts immediately after 2022. Again, when Partygate comes out, then riding high on that bounce. 2020, 2019. To be confirmed. But yeah, you can sort of see it has been these, and again, Liberal Democrats, you know, in third, but gaining, as you can see, momentum, like 2019 in third, you know, up from 1,000, up from that. 2020, again, up again. Liberal Democrats again holding strong. Again, Independents coming in very strong there, as I said in that one. Independents again, 2022, do not too bad there, but again, Liberal Democrats. Then we get here, and like I say, that was the big change in 2023. Well, Labour comes in overall control of the councils, or at least councillors, on that one. Then 2024, and then jump to latest information available. So, yep, interesting times. We will see. We will see what happens, and obviously, I will go over the breakthroughs, the interesting stuff that happens. Overall, at the moment, like I say, we are just waiting on the data to come through and the elections to happen, really. But other than that, it's nothing exciting is really happening. And trust me, I am keeping my eye on what's going on. You've had a couple of like dodgy reform candidates, but you know that continues in the grand tradition of UKIP, of course. But other than that, that's really been it. These local elections, again, important, don't get me wrong, but hardly, should we say, you know, the most exciting thing currently to watch at the moment. But again, nevertheless, interesting to look at if you are interested in that information and data. So, as always, thank you very much, of course, for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.